Hey, and welcome back to Laravel Podcast Season 7. I am your host, Matt Stauffer, CEO of Titan, and this season I'm going to be joined every episode by a member of the Laravel team. Today I'm talking to David Hill, Head of Design at Laravel. David, can you say hi and share a little bit about what you do at Laravel?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is David Hill. I am the head of design at Laravel. And that basically encompasses all aspects of design, from product through to marketing, through to brand design. And my role day to day is to lead the team, grow the team, and to make sure that business and customer needs are met through design.
That sounds like a very formal, structured answer, like somebody who knows how to be in a leadership position. It's like you've done this before, which we're actually going to start there, doing it before, because I don't actually know a ton about your history. And so I looked at your LinkedIn before the call and I was like, VP at Barclays. So I need you to tell me what's your journey to get to day one at Laravel? And that could be just over, what were you doing before versus what you're doing here. You can start back to high school, whatever, kind of like what was the journey to get here?
Ooh. I actually do like to start going all the way back to where I started from, which is I started off as an industrial designer. So my love was products, like physical products.
Yeah.
So I studied like further maths, physics, and then product design, thinking I was going to be like a mechanical engineer or some sort of engineer. Yeah. But I was always like artistic and creative, like drawing a lot. And then I did an art foundation before I went to university, and then found that actually my thing, like I knew it was going to be product design, but like I definitely knew it was product design. Like, and that was my first love. Probably still is my true love. Like physical design is really cool.
Yeah.
And so I started off as an industrial designer. I graduated as one of those, and went into a consultancy for like 3 years, designing all kinds of things. Injection molded plastic products, from power tools to fly killers to things to tag cattle on farms, to make prototypes and get into fields and like actually use things, which was fun. I actually still bump into like my designs like near where I live, so the council gives you like a food waste caddy, which I played a part in designing. Our local shop has like the thing that holds the baskets that you buy like your shopping with. I designed this thing. The thing that you put your batteries in to recycle the batteries, I designed that. My neighbor has like a wall charging unit for their electric car that charges their electric car, that was the first thing that went to mass production I designed.
Oh my God.
The local soft play where my kid goes has a cafe, and it has a fly killer in the cafe. My wife hates it because I'm always just like nudging her, just like nudging and point, and she's like, "Is it one of your designs?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's just still not impressed at all. But I'm like, "It's a fly killer. Like a fly killer is cool. I know what went into that." And it's anyway. So not
That's
that I'm
incredible.
advocating that we kill animals. Like do not kill animals, but flies, it's different.
Wow.
But no, so I started off as an industrial designer. But whilst I did that, I was always like tinkering on the web since like late teens. And I started tinkering more when I actually became like an actual industrial designer for a consultancy, because I realized how long it took to actually get products into production. Whereas on the web, I could just like hit deploy. I mean, there was no deploy button. I was just like drag and dropping FTP fine. And it was there. And I was like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. So I was just making things on the web with WordPress, figured out custom post types and taxonomies, and the ACF plugin, which was a godsend to me. I could just make things, add into a database, which was cool. And then I left that industrial design role, went traveling for a year, came back and got offered an opportunity at Barclays, which is a bank, which is kind of like, I wasn't looking for it. It just kind of came my way. Yeah. That was pitched as like half product design and half like digital product design. Like designing like biometric fingerprint scanners for like high net worth clients, like the actual product and then the software that goes with it. Over time, that role just became more and more digital design rather than physical product design, which I didn't mind. Like the world was kind of shifting, and it was more progressive digital product design. Like there was more remote opportunities. The pay was better. Like it just, I don't know why, because physical design is harder, but somewhere it just doesn't pay as much. So like I just made the decision to make that switch because I loved it as equally. And so the title VP of design at Barclays, like I mean, that's probably gives it more gravitas than it sounds, just because like it's a bank and everyone kind of gets a fancy title. It wasn't like I was there, like, you know, like next to the CEO in a board meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah. It sounds good better than it is. So it's kind of maybe that's a lot of opportunities for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, then so how did I end up at Laravel though? So that's like the first part of my career, and then Barclays just being a bank and being this big institution. I left there after about 3.5 years because there was some big shifts there. And
Hmm.
then I just went freelance. Like I'd already had like my own business, like since I graduated. I started a
Hmm.
company straight away. And then I just went back to doing that full time for like 8 years. And then I started a company with some internet friends called Terminal.
Hmm. Heard
And
of it?
it was about I want to say like a month, but about a month, like because we started that in May, and
Hmm.
I started in June with at Laravel. It's like somewhere in between that May and June. Um, I was listening to one of your podcasts with Taylor where he
Oh, cool.
mentioned we need a designer, and then I was like, Laravel needs a designer, like, and I've been using Laravel since 2020. So I started making
Uh-huh.
my first apps with Laravel in 2020, and I just DM'd Adam Elmore, my friend, and
Hmm.
just said like I said, do you know Taylor well enough that you could introduce me?
Yeah.
And sneaky backdoor, try and like sneak in.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear back from him for a couple of days, and then I just
Uh-huh.
hear from Taylor, and like and then and then yeah, like it's like the next day, let's jump on a call. And so we
Yeah.
did, and then I think it was within 24 hours I was offered a contract, and that was on a Friday, and by Monday I'd signed it, and then I was like freelancing like as a long-term contractor somewhere, and I just decided to leave that and yeah, meet the switch.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, and I keep hearing stories from people about just that's one of the reasons I want to ask them is because there's so many like, well, I knew this person who knew this person, but that was a level of intentionality that not a lot of the stories have. I also did not realize that Terminal was so fresh then. I just figured I hadn't heard about it. I was like, oh yeah, this terminal started showing up. It probably was like prominent. Everybody's been seeing it for the last couple of years. I didn't realize it was just brand new then.
Yeah, it
That's
was
incredible.
React Miami, so it was like May of last year, I think, was
Yeah.
React Miami the first one, and that was like when we launched like a tech blend. So we've been working on it for like
Wow.
a couple of months prior to that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've talked about your kind of like professional journey to get to Laravel, but I'm actually also really curious in your artistic journey to get to where you are as a creator. And just a heads up for you, anytime I'm going to be interviewing somebody, I go to Titan Slack and I say, hey, this person's going to be on. What questions do you have? So Guillermo at Titan asked us quite a few questions. So thanks, Guillermo. And one of his first questions, so I'm also super curious about, is what has shaped your taste as an artist? And I'm especially interested in like what shapes your taste as an artist when you haven't been spending the whole time doing digital design. Although I do think you've been doing freelance for a couple decades at this point, right? So it's not like something new. But like, what has gotten you to the point where you know what you like and what your specific aesthetic is?
I mean, I wouldn't class myself as an artist because like design is different to art. So like design is solving problems. So I like solving problems. I like it
Hmm.
when there's constraints and there's a problem and you've got to figure out the solution. And whether that's
Yeah.
like whatever medium that's in, whether it's like print, digital, physical. Um, in terms of aesthetic, I mean, I think your role as a designer is to adapt your aesthetic. Like maybe
Hmm.
you do have like your go-to, maybe it's your go-to because it's quick and easy or it's just comfortable or it's like it's the trend of the moment.
Right.
Like my aesthetic of the day is not my aesthetic of like 20 years ago. Like
Yeah.
so it's definitely changed and adapted. Um but yeah, I think you have to change and adapt. And yeah, I'm not an artist, I'm a designer.
Okay, great. And you have to adapt to kind of Laravel's way of doing things. And prior to you, Laravel had Taylor, and then he had occasionally worked with an external consultancy to do some brand work. I think it might have been Focus Lab that did a round. And then I think Jack McDade had done some work, and maybe one other person had done some design work. But a large portion of the design work happened when either Taylor or somebody else was like, well, I got to build a page. Let's just take whatever design work Focus Lab did or whatever existing stuff, was there and just kind of like just spit it out. I feel like the structure of a formal design team and format really kind of started with you. What was it like, and also kind of what challenges are there working with an existing brand where the brand is really well established, but also it's never been set up in a way where like a formal art director would do?
Yeah, great question. So the Laravel brand, like I loved it. Like since I first saw it,
Nice.
like I like the old one as well. Like I think we should bring back that retro logo. Like it's like a like in a side. Like
The little swooping
but
one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I yeah, so I love the design. I always just thought Laravel's design team was bigger than it was. It was only
Yeah.
once I was on the inside that I realized, wait, you guys have been doing this without a designer. When
Yeah.
I asked Taylor, like, oh, add me to the Figma, and he was like, yeah, we don't have Figma. And I was like, oh wow, we're really starting from the start
Yeah.
here. So no, that was fun. Yeah. So what was it like? So yeah, the designer that you mentioned, like Focus Lab, amazing agency. I followed those for a
Hmm.
long time. Jack McDade, incredible designer. So yeah, they'd already like done a lot of like great work, and we just wanted to build on that.
Yeah.
I want to say over the last 12 months, like although there's been some like subtle shifts and maybe some like design directions with the brand, like we haven't yet really formalized that into like this is like our new brand because like it's still adapting, we're still figuring things out. And to be honest, we've spent most of our time focused on product. Like there's been a lot of
Yeah.
product work in the last 12 months. So there's been a lot of product work and there's marketing work that communicates that product. And the products are slightly, they're not exactly branded Laravel. Like that's like a whole discussion we have. Like we give like that such deep thought and like how much should everything look the same versus how much
Hmm.
should it all be wildly different? What is that DNA that runs through it all that makes it feel like Laravel? Like we have to find it, establish it, refine it. That's a whole process, and you're doing that usually under tight time constraints
Yeah.
because there's just so much to ship all the time.
Yeah.
So we haven't yet sat down and said, "Oh, these are all our learnings. This is our new brand guidelines," and then published it on the web for everyone to see and use. That will come, but it's just that's in the process.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a really fun brand to work with. There's lots of opportunity with it. I mean, a lot of people just think the cube icon and like the L icon and the red, but then
Yeah.
we try to have more fun with that with the new website and introduce more color and like be bold with that color. Um, I don't actually know if anyone's noticed this, so I'm just going to say it out loud anyway. But like, if you look at like the work of the last 12 months, like we haven't used the icon all that much. Like we just tend to keep using the word mark. I don't know if anyone's
Yeah.
noticed that, but
Yeah.
I've not really been pairing the icon with the word mark. It's kind of like we
Huh.
try to decouple it in places and just like let each live by itself. We don't always have to be together.
Yeah.
Um, that's a small little detail. But yeah, I think it's a really fun brand to work with, and we'll publish more of our learnings soon. I mean, I want to get really into the depths of like Laravel has its own typography and its own icon set, and like why not? Like why
Yeah.
can't we do those? Why can't we do those things? That would be really
I
fun. Like a
I love
serif, a
that.
mono, like all that good stuff.
That's really exciting. And I was actually had a couple questions that kind of you started to dive into in a little bit, but I'm really curious. Like, what is your day to day right now, and both in terms of like just what steps do you do every day, but also like how involved are you with product? So like UX and UI versus marketing versus open source. Like what all are you involved in, and kind of what is your day to day in being involved in that?
That's a great question. I asked myself that same question. Like, right,
What do I actually do
honestly,
here?
yeah, no, because it's changed so much. Like
Uh-huh.
like because it's been such monumental shifts. It feels like it was 12 months ago. It was me. Now we're a team of 6 designers,
Wow.
and so like there's been like a lot of hiring, and hiring takes time, and then onboarding new designers takes time. But
Yeah.
like so in that process, in that time frame, like the first few months, it was just manage myself and manage like I was working on cloud. Like that's why I was hired. Was I joined at the start of June
Mm,
with the task of like I was given the title of head of design, but it was just me. So
yeah.
with like we knew we were going to grow the team, but for those early days, it was me, and it was yeah, you're hired to make sure there is a Laravel cloud product for the demo when we go on stage, and
Yeah.
that was my day to day. It was so focused, it was that.
Mm,
Um, and now like then we started to hire extra designers and other products, and so like to start transitioning away from doing day to day design. And it wasn't just like a turn a switch off and I no longer do day to day design. It's been like a gradual process.
yeah.
He's like now going through this weird phase, and it's maybe because I just turned 40 at the weekend, right? So like
Happy
it's a midlife
birthday.
crisis. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I'm going through this like midlife crisis where I'm like, how much should I get involved with? How much should I
Mhm.
step back? And it's
Yeah.
like I feel like a footballer, like a soccer player, where it's like I can still play. I'm only
Yeah.
40. I can still play.
Put me
Like
in,
leave me in
coach.
the game. Yeah, put me
Yes.
in. I can still do this. But then it's also like I should step back and let other people cook. And it's
Yeah.
like let people own their decisions. And so like I'm kind of like
Mm,
navigating that in a way.
mm,
So my day to day is that I see myself as responsible for yeah, working across everything and kind of trying to be like the glue that like binds things together
mhm.
because the designers are all focused like primarily like on their products. Like we have designers, we all talk and collaborate with each other. We have like our channel, and we all get along great. But like everyone's focused on like each product. So like we've got two designers on cloud, one on Forge, one on Nightwatch, and then we have a marketing and brand designer. Um, and because they're all focused, maybe they don't like look up and look around at what other people are doing. And so it's my job to try and be like, oh, like we just recently solved that on like cloud. Maybe we could take that over to another product, and vice versa. So I try and facilitate that and do that and just give overall direction of just some like patterns that like perhaps we don't want to go down, or like patterns we do want to include. Probably spent most of my time over the last few weeks on marketing related stuff, just because we've got Laracon coming up.
Yeah.
So if you're not already going, you should buy a ticket because it's the biggest one yet. Shameless plug there, but so that's where my focus has been over the last few months.
Okay. With programming, which I'm more familiar with, moving from being an individual contributor up to being kind of like a leader of programmers, there's like a in-between point where you're still involved in all the code, but you're more reviewing other people's code and helping architect versus actually writing it. And then there's like another level where you're no longer involved in the code at all, and like other people are doing that. And I'm at that level where like I should not be involved in the code of any of our projects. Are you up where I am, where you don't even get to be involved in the design process, or are you still like, yeah, this person's responsible for Forge, but I'm stepping in, I'm helping them with design challenges, I'm reviewing all their work and giving a thumbs up? Like, where are you at that level?
I'd say like I'm in the middle somewhere, so I'm not yet like at your level. Like I'm
not fully out.
But every product's different as well. Like we're such a distributed team that like I can't always be involved, and like nor should I be. Like I try not to. I never want to be a blocker. I only want to try and help.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might step on some toes, but I don't mean to. It's like it's only with the best of intentions. Like every product is different that we have. Some people prefer feedback, and we pair and we sync. We use Tuple, and we just like jam for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like I leave it with them to then take that, run with it, and execute and polish it. It's not for me to. I don't sit there for hours every day doing that.
Yeah.
I do pick up the occasional like squirt, like I think of what I can share without giving things away what we're working on. But like there might be just like a small need for like a quick marketing site. Or for example, we've just released a change log. Like and it's like we just need like this design. Like I don't want to disturb any of the other designers because I know everyone's busy. So I'll just pick that up, and it'll be like a 1 day, 2 day kind of like little sprint. So I do that kind of thing but that's more so just to like keep other people focused on more important things.
Yeah. I assume that you're the one who made the Laravel Cloud the initial landing announcement page with that kind of really clean typography.
So that was a collaboration. That was a really fun project. So that was
loved that.
We had like the February 24th. Like, that date will be ingrained in me forever because that February 24th, we committed to so many things that needed so many sites and so much marketing material.
Yeah.
And it was Laracon EU at the start of February. And we kind of we had to get so much work done for that. And we were there for a few days prior for a hackathon, and it was just such a busy period. And it was let's just get through Laracon EU and do like our demos there of what we're showcasing. And then once Laracon EU is over, then we'll switch focus to the February 24th. We've got like 2-3 weeks, whatever it is. And yeah, we just picked up a lot of things from afresh and had to run with it. So we designed the cloud landing page, and that was between myself, Hugo, and Tilly. We did that in a week. And then it was Hugo and Jason Beggs who ran with it and developed it for a week.
Got it.
Somewhere along the way, someone had the smart idea of why don't we code the illustrations instead of use SVGs or PNGs, which I don't know why you would do that under such time constraints, but we knew it would we wanted to make it feel like if that's your first experience of cloud, and we knew how much love had gone into like the actual product itself, so we wanted to try and convey a little bit of that on like the marketing site. And even though we had 2 weeks, it was we really pushed ourselves. There was early starts, late nights. There was one all-nighter the night before where there was no sleep for like 2 days. It was a labor of love, that whole launch. Yeah.
I saw how much work y'all put into it. So that was like the Laravel Cloud landing page when you guys actually landed, but the original one was just like hey, we got this kind of like this cloud thing that's coming. That one I feel like is because I think that the Laravel Cloud landing page that came out was a in the vein of how people do marketing pages, here's a very unique and clever and creative way to do it, right?
Oh,
That first one that was just the text, that one I feel like was something that I have seen very little of in the SaaS world.
so that one was more a that one was just me because there was just me back then. Like that was for like the original launch, the demo, and so much time went into the product. Like there was the cloud product. There was also I was responsible for all of like the Laracon Dallas
Right.
like materials and assets. I was also working on like the basketball game and all the assets and everything. The design went into that, which you were a part of. You know about that. It's like
Yeah.
that was like a very, very busy summer. And then we started talking about the marketing site, and I was like, what if we just don't do a traditional marketing site? What if we
Yeah.
just had like a video, which I made the video for as well, like I had to shoot and edit the video. I was like, we just have a video with just a letter from Taylor. What like keep it simple and different, and just because we're just trying to communicate a demo. We're not
Yeah.
and we'll save. We can have like a series of launches, and that's just like the simplest launch, and then we'll do like the fancy website when we launch the actual product.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
I
That
thought it was
fun.
brilliant. I really,
And
really
we-
enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks.
And
And
it was so strongly branded. I'm sorry, the lag. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, and then we riffed off of that for the Nightwatch one as well. We were like, we just, didn't want to reinvent that wheel again, just because of constraints. Like the team was so focused on product. Like now's the time to focus on product, and the marketing will take care of itself for that early demo.
Because it was so different, it felt like it really stood out. And I mean, I've been, in the Laravel world since before there was actual marketing material, and I have not seen anything internally and externally. There have been some people who've done letters. There's been, there's been the rise and somewhat fall of the best way to sell your video course is to have 15 pages of text on your homepage, right? Like those are all things, but it was none of those. And I just want to name the kind of like it felt fun and fresh and unique. And it was after Terminal, it was my first look of like, oh, like David has a really unique kind of perspective on things and a unique approach to things. Because I was curious when you're coming in, are you an artist? Are you an implementer? Where are you along that line? Because every designer has some kind of like, I don't know if that's a perfect line, but it feels to me that like there's the designers who are just like, I wanted to be an artist and I couldn't get paid for it, so I became a graphic designer. And then there's the designers where it's purely about implementation, and then there's kind of like a line in between. And I was kind of watching you for that first while to see like where do you land on there. So even kind of hearing some of your statements here about I'm not an artist, I'm a designer, and yet you clearly have an artistic vision, a design vision. Sorry, but like you clearly kind of have a vision there. So,
well, that's nice to hear. I mean, yeah, I try to approach everything. I mean, like all designers should like approach it differently, but not different for the sake of like being different. Like there was definitely thought went into that, just because again it was about constraints. Like the constraint was like I can peel off from doing product work, and I could then go and spend X amount of time designing a landing page that follows your typical like features and
right.
Or we can like double down on feature work in the demo and really nail that, and then just still have something which is equally as like captivating and capture compelling. And also it felt like a moment, because around that time, like a year ago, it felt like there was like we knew about the funding, we knew it was coming, we hadn't yet announced it before the demo, but we all knew internally. And so there was like this shift. It was like this big shift at the time, so we wanted to try and capture that as well. So we went with the that as well. The actual the iterations before that, where I did the whole thing in like blue, like it was like blue typography, and like everything was blue. It was just white and blue, and it was just like, because everyone used to see Laravel in red. I shared it internally, and everyone was like, a little bit too far, a little bit too far, too much. So I was like, okay.
That's funny.
But yeah.
So you mentioned constraints, and that's one of the reasons why I know you are also an artist, but it's okay. Every artist I know, and I went to art school, talks about the best art comes from the constraints versus like the wide open page. Like in a lot of design exercises and art exercises that you're given early on when you're being trained in that direction is to say like, and it's same for writing, right? Like with writing, they're going to give you a prompt, and the point of the prompt is to say with this specific constraint, you can actually find much more creativity than if you just had the wide open world in front of you. terminal seems like it could have given you a lot of really interesting constraints versus, for example, like designing on the terminal, designing on a coffee bag, building a brand that is both very quirky and, open to just a lot of creativity, but you're also trying to look like a legitimate brand and make some money and stuff like that. What was the experience of designing for terminal like, both from a perspective of just kind of like, was it new to you relative to what you'd done prior? And were there anything really interesting around the constraints of designing for the actual physical terminal? Designing those coffee bags, was it a throwback to your old ways? Just kind of what was it like?
Yeah, so terminal is like my like kind of creative outlet in a sense. Sometimes it's like the things that I can't get away with or do at Laravel. So like I can those ideas can get used at terminal. In terms of constraints, like I'm really lucky that Adam Elmore is like an exceptional developer with like such a creative eye. And he can take like what are like rather like simple designs, and he just sort of like adds like little flourishes to them sometimes. I asked him what the constraints were, and he just said, "Just design what you want, and I'll try and make it work." So, like, obviously, cool. Like, I took a look at like what other terminal style like apps are out there. There weren't many. There seems to be a little bit of a rise of it over the last 12 months. Like, there's a lot more of it I see. Yeah. I actually saw some work by Joe Tenenbaum before we worked together, and then when I found out we were together, like a couple. We were working together. Yeah, that was amazing. And then recently, Ashley Hindle, he's amazing.
Ask if you've seen Ashley's work,
Oh yeah, I've followed his work for a long time, and then met him at Laravel Live UK.
Nice.
Now he's officially announced it today, I think. Yeah, he's announced it today. He's official. The terminal product, like the design for all of that, again, is all based on constraints. So it's the logo itself is obviously like. I didn't go crazy with it. Like I think I've shared my exploration, or I might do one day. Is like just I didn't go too wide because then you wanted to keep it simple, and it's just like that orange square. And then we just started to like apply that square at the end of sentences. It was like, well, we'll just have a hoodie with like the word hoodie and like square at the end. It's like keep it simple. The original website design, like the terminal design, I actually did that because I was away at a friend's 40th birthday party for a weekend, like families and kids everywhere. I had to peel away for like 3 hours, and was like, right in the morning, I got up early and I was like, I just need to design. We had to ship it, so I had to design it. And I was like, well, the constraint is I've only got 3 hours, so I've got to keep it simple. And I also knew that like Laravel is like my full-time focus. Like terminal is kind of like an aside, so it's like the two never have to like fight each other. It's so it's like anything I do has to be like there's time constraints to it for terminal. Like it has to be simple. So that's basically where it came from. And like with like the packaging, again, I didn't want to have to think every time we had a bag. Oh, we've got a new bag. I've got to start from scratch. It's almost like the Penguin books, right? It's like they've got like a template and a theme, and then it's like we've got this panel at the front, it wraps around the side, and that is like our creative panel. We can go wild in there, we can stay within those constraints, we can break out sometimes, but we're just going to follow this same template, and I just have to like duplicate the file and just place new designs in that panel and send it to print, and it'll hopefully come together. So,
well, I mean, they feel, I know you know this, but just from outside, they feel incredibly cohesive and also incredibly varied at the same time, which is, to me, a remarkable achievement, because that's not... It's hard to get both, and you got both. So I think you're good at your job.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Of course.
We'll see how you keep saying that. I think things are going to change. We created this membership called Cron, which is a Laravel podcast. We shouldn't talk about this so much, but we've got Cron.
We're talking to you, okay?
Okay, cool. And that requires us to like ship more consistently monthly. So you have like our staple blends, which has got like the cohesive designs, but then the monthly blends are more like, experimental, and we can have fun with it and like break the rules, and they'll be a bit different.
Oh, that's really fun. I'd seen Cron, but I hadn't got a chance to take a look at it. And just so you know, if anybody has not tried it out, you should definitely check out Terminal Coffee. They made an artisan blend. I assume that was a one-off and it's not available anymore, but it was very good. Like, I'm a coffee nerd, and I was like, I said this on the internet, but I'll say this now on the podcast. I expected that I was going to order it, and it was going to be a novelty that I was going to do to support my friends, right? And I was going to be like, I'm going to do this thing because I like you, and because I want, to have the fun experience of ordering coffee through the terminal. And I tried it. I was like, this is really good coffee. Like, that was not a part of the plan. So that turned out really nicely.
Yeah, it's legit. Like we really tried. Like it's a family friend, and they really do source good coffee. It's not like this, what's the word? Like drop shipped kind of
Yes,
experience.
it's
Yeah, it's not
definitely what I
that at all.
expected, and I
Not
was
not
wrong.
that at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
But no, to your point about artisan, you can still get artisan,
Okay, great.
but you have to come to Laracon to buy it because that's where it's all going to be. So
Ooh, okay. Love that. Buy your
yeah,
Laracon tickets.
yeah.
Okay, so a couple more questions for you before we wrap. I wanted to talk a little bit about like Laravel versus other places you've been, because obviously you have not, like a lot of people who I've talked to came from Vercel or came from other, like I was embedded in a different technical community, and I know that's not exactly the case for you, but I do know that you're kind of connected to other places in the internet. Do you have a sense for what the general design aesthetic and design interest and designability among the people of the Laravel community is compared to other technical communities that you have access to? And I don't have an answer. This is not like a leading question, but I'm like, well, we are PHP developers, so maybe we're like worse at design versus JavaScript, which is more front end people. But I don't actually know. Do you have like a sense for how design does or doesn't play a role in Laravel versus elsewhere on the internet?
It's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't pit it against PHP versus JavaScript and like
Yeah,
you
we
can
don't need any
design,
more
you
of this.
can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need that. But I would say, I mean, my experience of the Laravel community started back in 2020, in the 2019, 2020. I got to
Mhm.
meet a bunch of people in the community. It felt like it's just such a friendly community. I just ask questions and just say, "Hey, Laravel community," and people would I would find people and they would find me.
Love
Um,
it.
I would say that my experience through that community is that it's lots of like indie makers, so that they're
Hmm.
responsible for the design and the development. And
Yeah.
because they're responsible for the design, they there's lots of and all this is said in the most positive way. There's no like shame. It's like they leverage tools that they have available to them, right? Because they
Yes.
recognize that they're not a designer, so they're using
Yeah.
lots of the Tailwind UI
Chassis and
stuff,
feeling
the
UI. Yeah.
chassis and stuff. So there's lots of
Yeah.
like that. But then and then when there is a need for design, like to they like I want to say over design it maybe because they maybe they're conscious that they're not a designer, so then they
Uh-huh.
compensate and over design things and things
Uh-huh.
just get busy.
Yeah.
Um, but I wouldn't say that's like a Laravel versus non-Laravel thing. I think that's just if you're not a designer,
Hmm.
sometimes knowing when to say no,
Hmm.
and you just keep on adding more stuff to it. So I think that's just more like a full stack developer thing that tends to happen sometimes. And not in
Yeah.
everybody, obviously. That's just I'm generalizing a lot,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's
and that does lead to one of my other questions, which is I always like to ask people on podcasts, like if someone wanted to get to be where you are today, what are some places? Are there courses? Are there practices? Are there books? Are there podcasts, videos? Are there any other kind of resources you'd say, like, hey, if you want to eventually become, like at my level, here are a couple things that help me get here?
I mean, you have to. I, I say to people all the time, and friends in particular, like you have to do the doing. It sounds like it doesn't even make sense in a way. Like do the doing. Like you just have to do. Like
Yeah.
you can take like the amount of courses that I've bought and not taken. Like so
Yeah.
I could recommend a course, but it doesn't mean like you're going to take it, and it means I'm not taking it. And the amount of books I've bought and maybe read half and not finished it. So
It's sitting on the shelf somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, like you have to just my phone, my wife laughs because the photos on my phone are just either like the kids, family, or just like random
Design.
things that I see. Just like we go past a tube station advert, and I take a picture. We're taking a picture of it. It's an advert for like I don't know dog food, and I'm like, yeah, but
Uh-huh.
look at the typography. Like I'm just so I take pictures of everything. I bookmark lots of things like inspiration.
Hmm.
Like I have like a very
Hmm.
organized bookmark section, and like I categorize things so that whenever I have to design something, I'm not just sat in front of a blank
Hmm.
screen. I just pull references straight away.
Hmm.
And it's not like I'm copying. It's just like I need inspiration. Like I need that stimulus.
Yeah.
So yeah, my advice would be you have to put in the time, you have to put in the hours, you have to just pick a design tool. Doesn't even matter which. I mean,
Yeah.
Figma is probably the dominant one right now, but we didn't have that back in the day. It was,
Yeah.
MS Paint, and then it was Photoshop and Sketch.
Hmm.
So no, I would say open up Figma and start designing, or we'll start with
Yeah.
a pen and paper and start designing. Just and take other people's designs, even if you're struggling with ideas, and just riff on it and just try and recreate stuff. Like there's certain parts of design muscles that you have to stretch and practice with. One is like creating concepts, like start with a concept and have your own concepts. And if you're not there yet, then just for your own personal, needs, like just not to share and claim as your own, but just for you at home, just take other people's designs and just try to copy it. So you just learn the tools, like you learn your actual tool.
Implementation ability.
Exactly. Master your tool, and then start layering in like your concepts. Like, well, I know my tool now, and I've got this idea, and yeah, that's just do the doing. That's all I can say, really.
I love that. So as you have been working at Laravel, I mean, I know probably a decent amount what you've been doing is leaning on existing skills, because you both have been an implementation person, but you've also been a leader. At Barclays, you had a team underneath you. Are there things that you've done at Laravel where you're like, oh, I had to learn this on the job. I've never done anything like this before?
Public speaking. That is something.
Okay, fair.
that is something.
How was that for you?
I mean, that was like an out of body experience. Like the most I'd spoken to, is my wedding, which is like family and friends, 100 people. And then Taylor asked me to, talk at the keynote last year. And I was like, start of June, I wasn't employed by Laravel. Now I'm stood backstage next to Taylor, in Dallas, like about to go on. And the funniest thing was I didn't know when I was going on. Like it wasn't like I was waiting for like the hour mark or the half an hour mark. I just didn't know when I was going on. I probably should have known. There was just so much going on. And so I'm just stood there waiting to hear my name, and just like it was so public speaking is something that I hadn't really had to do.
Yeah.
Internal presentations to large groups, perhaps, but not to scale.
Well, you're excellent at it, so.
Oh, thank you. But in terms of day to day, nothing comes to mind right now. I mean, there's lots. There's at times it feels a lot more technical. I feel like I'm closer to the technology side of things and trying to understand the technology, especially on cloud, than I may have done in the past. Just because maybe it's like not just software as a service; it's a platform. So there's just more to understand. So that's been a big interest and learning point. But even then, I can't claim to even understand, all of it or half of it. I just know I had to understand more of it in order to be able to design for it.
Yeah. So you said you've been building with Laravel since 2020. Do you think that being a developer, a capable developer with experience developing, makes it easier being a designer development company versus if you just came in blind?
I think so. I mean, you added the word capable. I didn't say capable.
I did.
I know that I haven't really made anything like notable for like a little while now. But I hired I wanted to learn a new development. Like I wanted to get back into coding, and so I tweeted what should I learn? Like what is like the new thing? And like I said, I had a bit of PHP experience from WordPress. And then Laravel was like the response. And I actually hired a developer in Morocco called Abdelila. And he coached me. We tupled like daily. And like I just paid him. And like he taught me how to make apps. So that was cool. I recently showed Joe Dixon. We revived one of my old projects on Laravel Live together. And he's like, let's dig it out. Let's see. So like he will say that I'm not capable, having seen the code base. So I was really proud. I was like, we got it going again. And I was like, look at this, and you can do this. And it's all Pain.js. And I was like, it's like, it's Axios requests. And I was like, I had like events and notifications, and it's like, custom domains. And I was like, nothing I could say could impress this guy. He's like, I made cloud. And
you're not comparing yourself against the fairest other person, start with somebody lower than Joe Dixon.
Yeah, I know, right? But no. So I think my thing is when I'm making things or designing things, like it's just knowing when to stop, right? Like that handover point. Like, and I think I've got better at it now. But like, you have to know what comes next. I think you can't really design for something if then you don't know how it's implemented. And I think sometimes that can be an advantage because you can just be wildly creative. But I think when you're doing like in like a business setting, there has to be like a level of pragmatism to it. So you have to know how it's going to be made to know the constraints again. So, and even if it's just HTML, CSS, you don't have to get into the back end. Works. Yeah.
All right, I have one last question for you, and then I'll ask you if there's anything else you wanted to cover. But my one last question for you is, if you suddenly didn't have this crazy overwhelm, which you've just been slammed for a year, and your whole team's slammed for a year, so you care for them. If you hit a point where you had, like, let's say 3-4 weeks where you didn't have anything on your plate, is there like a dream design project at Laravel where you're like, oh man, because you had mentioned kind of the fonts and stuff like that, the custom fonts. Is that it? Or is there anything else where you're like, if I just had the time, I would love to do this?
New question. I mean, yeah, I think it's the brand is the one part of like I mentioned, the product marketing and brand. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the one that it kind of touches on everything, like that Laravel brand, like touches through
Mm-hmm.
everything. And yet we still haven't carved out the time to really give it the time it deserves.
Yeah,
So I would love to figure out all aspects of that. I don't think 4 weeks is even enough to
certainly
start
not.
doing that.
Yeah,
You can try and put a dent in it, but like there's just so much. Like just you know the tone of voice and animation. Like animation is a big one for me at the minute. Like I'd
mm,
like we're trying to include more of it at Laracon. Like we did it with like the speaker announcements, just
nice.
trying to just add a little bit of motion and movement instead of like static PNGs. Like really want to try and add more motion and movement to things. Um, no, yeah, I would want to spend more time on the brand side. I mean, I
Yeah,
would love to have a typography. I just think that would be so cool, like to have like a
that'd be
Laravel
really cool.
typeface.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I love that. Okay. Well, then my actual last question is there anything that you hoped we could have talked about today that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
nothing comes to mind. It's actually quite fun. First podcast, so I was like, yeah, this has been
I
fun.
love that. God, that makes me happy. And you know, I tell a lot of these people this after we get off the call, but I'm just going to tell you directly since we're here. Like, you're doing a great job. Like, you're a fantastic guest. You have you not only do you tell interesting stories and you kind of go off the edge a little bit, but you like know when to kind of take a pause and give. You're doing a great job. So you should do more of this.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I guess that is the wrap of this one. So thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for sharing. Of course, thank you for the work you do for our community, and look forward to seeing what you've been putting together for Forge, Laracon, and all the other things that are coming out soon.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy few weeks.
I believe it. Well, thank you and for a little bit of your time in the midst of all this.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Bye.
Okay, the rest of y'all, we'll see you next time.